Item 10C, adopt a resolution approving property owner notice and protest process for 2013-2014 garbage rate increase proposed by Recology San Bruno.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My presentation this evening is to provide an overview of the 2013-14 garbage rate adjustment proposals provided by our franchise garbage provider, Recology San Bruno. I will begin by providing an overview, and then I will hand it over to Kirsten Pinocchi, General Manager of Recology San Bruno, who will provide more information about the proposed organics program. These rate increase proposals have been reviewed with the City Council Subcommittee members, Mayor Ruane and City Council Member Salazar, and I ask that they please provide any additional information that they wish to provide. The city's franchise garbage provider, Recology San Bruno, is entitled to a detailed rate adjustment every 3 years, with interim rate adjustments limited to CPI and pass-through disposal costs during the other years. On March 1st, Recology submitted a detailed rate adjustment in accordance with the franchise agreement, requesting a 2.17% rate increase to base services, along with a supplemental proposal to begin an organics program in San Bruno in January 2014. Per the franchise agreement, Recology's rate adjustment is due on March 1st. However, this March 1st deadline did not anticipate the 45-day property owner notification process, also referred to as the Proposition 218 process, which requires the City Council to approve the advertisement of the rate by mid-March in order to meet a July 1st implementation date. In prior years, Recology has been able to provide the City with the rate adjustment proposal well before the March 1st deadline to accommodate this process. However, due to the complexity of both the detailed rate year analysis and the supplemental organics proposal, an early submittal was not possible this year. The City met with the City Council Garbage Subcommittee in early March to discuss options for the rate review process. Various options were discussed, and in the end, the subcommittee provided direction to delay the implementation of the base rate until September 1st to allow sufficient time to review the rate proposal. This 2-month delay results in a slightly higher 2.61% rate due to its collection over 10 months rather than a full 12 months. During this meeting with the subcommittee, it was determined that the firm of HF&H Consulting, it's formerly referred to as Houghton Farnkoff, would be engaged to review the two rate proposals. HF&H Consulting is a firm that specializes in the area of recycling and solid waste, and their expertise allows for more rigorous review of the rate as well as the mechanics of the organics program. And so they could come in and evaluate, the proposal and the number of trucks needed and the routes, and really evaluate whether or not the proposal was exactly what the city needed. HF&H worked extensively with Recology over the last 2 months, and in the end did determine that both proposals accurately reflected Recology's costs to deliver these services. So as I pointed out earlier, there's two proposals here this evening. The first is a base rate adjustment, and this is the detailed rate year adjustment of 2.17%. With the September 1st implementation, it would be 2.61%. And then there's a supplemental proposal for organics, which would begin, the proposed date is January 1st, 2014. And the proposal is to roll that rate and roll out the rate over the course of the 12 months as the program is rolled out, so that all the costs are not, the rate is not incurred in total on the implementation date, but it is spread out over the course of a year. So that would result in a 4.48% rate increase in January 1st, 2014, followed by 2.24% rate increases over the next 6 months, July 1st and January 1st, 2015. Keep in mind, July 1st, 2014, Recology will be eligible for an interim year rate adjustment, so the exact rate at January 1st, 2015 is not yet known. Using those first two rates for the 2013-14 year, you can just take a look at what that would do in comparison to other cities. And what this does is looks at what the 32-gallon, which is still the most popular container size today, what the rate is today, and what the rate would be with the 2.61% rate adjustment, and that first column, or the middle column, and it's comparing to the cities on the peninsula that are still offering programs like ours that does not include organics. The last column adds in not only just the base rate adjustment at 2.6%, but also the initial 4.48% rate adjustment, and compares it to the other cities in San Mateo County that are offering a proposed organics program. So as you can see, we would remain basically in the middle range.
Yeah.
So I will let Kirsten provide more information about the proposed organics program. However, the current collection process is for the green waste bin is bi-weekly service, and so you put out your green waste bin every 2 weeks and it gets serviced. If the city were to move to organics, the biggest change and what's one of the biggest cost drivers is that service becomes a weekly service because food goes into the green waste bin. And so that would require the addition of 3 new trucks and addition of new routes to accommodate that weekly service, moving from bi-weekly to weekly service. So that is the most notable change, and at this point I'll hand it over to Kirsten to provide more information about the proposed organics program.
Thanks, Kim. As Kim mentioned, the proposed organics program is moving us from a bi-weekly to a weekly collection service. The additional items that will be allowed in the green cart will now include not only the grass and lawn clippings that you put in there now, you'll be allowed to put in food and soiled paper products into the green cart. And again, in order to make this program happen, Kim mentioned we needed 3 new trucks, 2 residential and 1 commercial, all 3 being biodiesel trucks. We kept with the biodiesel to keep the overall cost of the program as low as possible. A council member before had raised concern about the increase in our carbon footprint by adding 2 additional trucks on the streets. We researched this, and city staff also reached out to Hilton Farncroft, and both of those resulted in there's no scientific data available to provide an affirmative answer to that question at this time. The end result of where the compost will go to the processor, the end result will be a nutrient-rich compost. This program in San Bruno will be what's considered a bagless program. No bags are allowed in this program. We do understand that cities down the peninsula are allowed to use biodegradable bags in their kitchen pails. That would result in a much higher processing cost of the material, which would result in a higher cost to the residents of the city. Up on the screen is an example of being able to use the compost pail, which is what's going to go onto your kitchen counter. And one way to keep the moisture condensed is to use a newspaper or a brown paper bag. And then your kitchen pail would then be dumped into your outside current green container that you'll already use for grass clippings.
Kirsten, when
Yeah.
you say bags, you're talking about plastic bags?
Yeah, no
versus-
plastic bags and no biodegradable little green plastic bags that people might see down the peninsula.
Okay.
But paper bags are fine.
Paper bag or newspaper can go in there. Next screen. Okay.
Paper bags.
These are examples of what would be allowed in the organic material program, which would be, like we said, food scraps, meats, fish, bones, and also your soiled paper. So your pizza boxes, which currently cannot go in the blue cart, will now be allowed in the green cart. Paper napkins, your paper plates,
Steak.
and your paper coffee cups can all go in there along with your grass clippings and leaves. This is an example of the process that organic material will go through. It goes from your plate to your compost pail on your kitchen counter or under your kitchen counter, wherever you choose to use it. You then take it out and you dump it into your green container. Recology will then come weekly and service and empty the contents of that container, which then is brought to our transfer station, which then is hauled into a tractor trailer, taken to our processor, and the end result is the beautiful, what they call black gold in the corner of compost. Being a part of an organic program in San Bruno will actually allow the city to host compost giveaways. So it's another great feature for our city to be able to give out some of this compost to our residents.
Wait.
Why do we want an organics program in San Bruno? There's a lot of reasons, a few of which we'll mention. Having an organics program does and will help us meet the statewide goal of 75% diversion in 2020. This goal was set forth by AB 341. Programs such as organics takes a long time to mature. We are very close to the year 2020, so now is the right time to start a program in order for us to bring the program to maturity and be super processors by 2020. Environmentally, it's the right thing to do. We're putting our food in the landfill when there are programs out there that will help divert that material. And it's just the next best thing. 9 out of the 14 cities up and down the peninsula are doing organics. 9 out of the 14. And it's truly the natural progression of where we are going in the recycling world. We have a lot of residents that work outside of San Bruno who compost at their office and have reached out to Recology saying, why can't I compost at home if I do it at work? That being said, in 2011, we had several commercial customers come to us asking for organic program, whether their corporate offices were doing it elsewhere or they just wanted to be a green leader. One of which was Walmart.com when they got here were very aggressive in recycling. So we worked with the city and developed a commercial pilot program to allow us to meet the needs of our commercial customers. And since then, we've grown our pilot program. As you can see, there's a few more, but we're very proud to say that John Muir School is an extremely good organic composters. Bel Air School has been online recently, and we also work with Skyline College. Their Pacific Dining, their cafeteria, is participating in the program, and great feedback. Before the commercial pilot program, they were diverting about 30% of their garbage through just single stream recycling. During this pilot, they are at 48%. So they are diverting almost 50% of their waste right now, and it can only get better with more education as the employees start to jump online. So we're very proud of that. I'm also proud to say that we've worked with the city and we're rolling out a residential pilot program in June. So we've worked together to select some areas of San Bruno, and some residents are going to be notified shortly that they've been asked to be a part of this residential pilot. We feel that we can get some great data from the residents that participate in the pilot to help with the rollout in January. And your very own city of San Bruno, City Hall is going to be participating in this program in the summer. So we will be spending the next 7 to 8 months really pre-educating the residents and commercial businesses of the city in order for the program to be very successful. We believe the key to success or failure is keeping the public informed, so we're going to do our best to really educate them. Just to give you a kind of snapshot of a couple of cities that are similar to ours in size, Pacifica rolled out both single stream and organics at the same time, but they, as you can see, they reduced their garbage by 712 tons, and they increased their organic by 320 tons. So they really grasped onto the organics program and did a great job. And Cupertino, about a little bit larger than us, reduced their garbage by 50%. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. I am open for comments or questions before giving it back to Kim.
Multifamily?
Multifamilies will be educated. They're going to be part of our target audience the next 7 to 8 months. We're going to visit the homeowners associations and really try and promote the importance of composting at their facility as well.
Okay. Any questions of Kirsten or staff? Ken?
Yes. Mayor asked multifamily, and I see your list of the pilot program. The commercial in Pacific Dining is the only restaurant. Aren't restaurants big candidates for organics?
Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, because it is a pilot program, we're limited in size. We are squeezing these customers into our current routes that we have right now. So there's only so much space that we could accommodate. So we allowed the people to come to us. Yeah. We did reach out to a few Legacy Produce and Mexicana Produce and brought them on board, but we were limited.
Okay. I'm going to bring up the old argument. Mm-hmm. 2.6% here, 2.4% here, and everything. And by month, it's not a big deal. Now we're going quarterly. And each time from way back when we started recycling with the bins and everything, everyone questioned, well, why are you charging us more? We're doing, we're taking garbage out of the landfill because we've been trained to say that landfill costs are skyrocketing and increasing all the time, and now that we're taking it away from the landfill, we're making black gold. We're doing, we're recycling bottles. We're doing all this stuff that is going back into usage, or supposed to be. So now we're saying, now we got organics, we got single stream recycling, everything, and you're getting 3 new trucks. And supposedly we're going to be paying for those 3 new trucks over the course of a year. But the rates are going to still stay up there. And I understand that you've got 3 new drivers possibly, or maybe not, but
2.
you've got, yeah. So there's going to be an increase from that. But it's like every single program that comes in, there's that initial startup cost that gets, that we get hit with, but it stays there. It stays within the rate. And then you come back each year or every 3 years or whatever, and we understand things go up. But it just seems that initial startup cost rates always seem to stay, even though they've already been paid for. So how do you explain that? How do we explain that to the customers?
There's a myth that the landfill fees always do go up, but the cost to process organic product is expensive, no doubt. And hopefully processes will streamline and get a lot easier, and the costs will go down, and they'll be similar maybe to the landfill fees, but it's a lot more expensive to process the material to make the organic product. We try to condense the routes as much as possible to only add 1 more yard waste or compost driver and 1 commercial route. How to explain it to the residents? I don't know how to directly tell them. I try to explain why it's important that we get to this, because we're going to have to start diverting more of our material by 2020. But it still costs the same amount for a driver to pick up material, just material in general, in front of the homes. Whether it's less garbage, more organics, more single stream, it's still the same cost to stop at each house.
So it's safe, if I could, so it's safe to say that costs are always going to go up. The question is, how much do they go up? They may not go up as much. The next increase may not be 2.1%, and maybe 1 point something percent.
I hope for that. I hope for that just as much as the residents do. I mean, I live in San Bruno. I don't like to see the costs go up either. We don't like bringing a rate increase to the council. I would love to stand here and say there's no rate increase this year, but
Never will be, will it?
labor is going up every day. You know that benefits go up every day. You pay benefits here in the city,
Yeah.
and it's a continual fight.
Okay. Thank you.
Kirsten,
Sure,
if
yeah.
you based all of the information on a 32-gallon can that we have now, the typical can. So is there savings if we end up diverting more and not using that 32?
Yes, we built into the rate a migration of customers moving from the 32 to the 32 with a liner, considered the 20-gallon. So yeah, I'd love to see a lot of the customers calling us saying that my green's so full, my gray's got smaller. That'd be great.
Okay.
Through the
Rico?
chair, just to clarify what the mayor was saying, if a person was to go from the 32 to the smaller, they would see a reduction. Okay, I think,
Yes.
because I don't know if that was clear as
I'm
far
sorry. Yes, they would pay the lesser rate. They would pay the 20-gallon rate versus the 32.
There was a slide, Kim, you showed, and it showed with the comparison from the various cities. Right, thank you. So we have the 2609, and that's with the additional 4.48 with the organics collection that would start weekly at with the 32. That doesn't take into the fact in that same year that the other 2.24 and the 2.24 in July and then January of 15. Does that take that into account?
No, that it is not, because, and the reason for that is because in July of 2014, Recology will be eligible for an interim year rate adjustment. So while we know what the rate adjustment will be for the organics component of the program, the base adjustment, the base services my apologies. It wouldn't be an accurate number given that we don't know what that rate adjustment will be next year. So that's why we only did the first two portions of the rate adjustment. Just for your own information, I mean, I just ran the numbers, including the other two rate adjustments, and just assumed what a 1.5% base rate adjustment would be for next year. What would the rate look like? And it would be just below $28. $27.68 is what I calculated to be. So assuming that, Recology's interim year rate adjustment was somewhere in the 1.5% range next year, next July, and then come January 2015, we've implemented the last two rate adjustments for organics, we would still be just below $28. And so you can kind of take a look at where that would fall on this spectrum with the other cities.
I appreciate that. I think that's important to have noted, but I also think, because just by looking at that, until I was just dissecting it, a little asterisk or something, because it's very clear. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you're withholding information. I'm not trying to even infer that. But at the same time, we are talking about two more increases, and we are talking about a next increase, which is the regular process. So in essence, in the bigger scheme of things, we're talking for organics, if my math's right, about an 8.9% increase, in addition to another increase that will come again.
Correct.
Okay. So my other to the manager is, and as the council member said, and correctly so, that labor and cost of doing business doesn't go down. We know that. This is to go forward with the mechanism of 218, which is a requirement, which again would be going out to say no more than 8.96, or is that, because I know you have to advertise something, you can't go surpass that, but you can go below that, as what we've done once before.
So my thought would be, if the council chooses to move forward with both the base rate adjustment and the organics, would be to clearly advertise the full rate. And we could take the approach of advertising the two rate adjustments that they will see during the 2013-14 year and make it very clear that come the 2014-15 rate year, there will be two additional 2.24% rate adjustments still coming that year. We just don't know what the exact dollar rate will be until next July.
I think all that information needs to be included so that it's very clear, very transparent, very easy to read. I mean, I'm going through this, and I had ample time to go through this, and still you have to figure some things out. But again, us moving forward on this is just to have the mechanism of Prop 218 go forward. It does not authorize, it does not cement what the rate will be, or if the organic program goes forward. Is that correct?
Correct. And so tonight, exactly as you said, tonight's action would be requesting, directing staff to move forward with the property owner notice process. We will advertise the rate, either just the base rate adjustment could be advertised, or both the base rate adjustment and the organics rate adjustments could be advertised at the same time. The rate, given the 45-day period, the public hearing and the introduction of the rate ordinance would not occur until the first meeting in July 9th. And so that's when the actual decision about adopting the rate would have to take place.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Irene?
Thank you. Kirsten, I'm interested in the pilot. How are you going to implement it? How long is it going to last? What kind of information are you looking for?
Good question. The pilot, we're going to be sending out the notices in the next several days to the customers that were chosen. We're going to give them an opt-out deadline of May 24th. That doesn't mean that if they call us on May 26th, we won't honor their wishes. They'll have that option to call us and say, I don't want to be part of this program, I have no interest. And then we will, the following week, the last week of May, we'll deliver the kitchen pails to those pilot customers and begin servicing weekly for those customers on June 3rd. The pilot will run until citywide organics rolls out. We're not going to start them and educate them and then take it away. It's going to be a continual program. They will roll right into organics when it rolls out citywide.
Okay, so what mechanism are you going to use to gather information from these people? Because that's not what I'm assuming you're doing the pilot for.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've already done we've taken a look already at who's participating in just yard waste, and we've taken a look at the tonnage that we've collected. So that's phase one.
Okay.
Now when we roll it out, 4 months or so into the program, we'll take another snapshot and see the increase in participation and the increase in tonnage, so we can see how much we pulled out of the waste stream on these pilot customers. The goal is to then create a survey for these customers and ask the questions that we would like answers to. How did you feel about the program? Did you think it was messy? Did you put your can out every week? If you didn't, why? We'll develop a survey that's been used before, and we'll work with staff to answer all the appropriate questions.
Okay, great. You answered everything. Thank you.
Okay.
Michael?
Through the chair. Is there a seasonal adjustment for that tonnage? I was just thinking about that. Would it be different if you took that snapshot during a season when people aren't putting a lot of yard waste out, and then now it's summertime and maybe there's more stuff going in there? Is that going to skew your numbers at all?
We used an entire year's worth of tonnage data to decide how much so the increase in cost is from what we pay for yard waste now and what we would pay for food waste. So we used an entire year's worth of data. So it captured the high and the low.
Okay. Another thing we discussed in subcommittee was looking at the commercial customers and where they're space constrained. Would we be able to do something different containers for them so that they can, or sharing of containers? Have you had a chance to look at that at all?
Some of the commercial customers in the pilot had space constraints, and we worked with them on making sure that the right bin size was right for them. If they needed to go more often because they needed a smaller container, there's definitely lots of plans that can be looked at. Okay. And we can also use knowledge from our neighboring cities down the peninsula on what they did with space constraint customers as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And so, in terms of our commitment to Recology to implement organics, so our action today is regarding the rate, but does that imply our commitment to Recology to implement the program so that they can go out and start planning purchase of trucks and whatnot? Or is that going to be a separate action?
No, this is only a commitment to the property owner notice process. What we would do if the council decides to move forward tonight with advertising for both the base rate and the organics is at least take this opportunity with the property owner notice to begin the outreach and education process and utilize part of that brochure to educate about what organics is, but it does not tie you to organics. The decision for that will be in July when the rate ordinance is introduced.
Okay, and that gives Recology enough time to do their planning, or
it will give us enough time to get everything in place. I can't guarantee that the brand new trucks would be rolling out on January 1. It might be a program we have to start with used trucks if they're not there in time. But we would get the best of the best that we can get to start it off. But we would still start the program.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, can I make
Discussion?
one more? I'll make last.
Sure.
The purpose of the comparisons with the communities, what is the point of that? Because, I mean, are we supposed to be looking at and saying, okay, we're okay because we're less than these communities? I almost want to question how come Foster City's so low? You know, so I think if we're going to show a comparison between the communities, are we prepared to say why there are some communities that are run by Recology that have a cheaper rate? Yeah.
So, to answer that question, I mean, the slide is only for informational purposes, and it's just similar with the discussion with water and sewer rates. I mean, comparison to other cities is almost impossible because there's so many factors that play into that. Some cities who might have a larger industrial or commercial sector may have their rates apportioned in a manner that the commercial and the industrial commercial customers pay a higher percentage of the overall cost, and so part of those rates are somewhat subsidized by large businesses, and maybe the residential rate is lower. And so it's really difficult when you're just looking at a 32-gallon rate it's really difficult to make heads or tails of what that means without taking a look at the full picture of the makeup and how those rates are broken out across different types of customers.
I mean, I don't want to get in the whole question and answer thing. Again, if we're going to broadcast this, then be prepared to, to talk to the constituents as far as why why is Millbrae more? Why is Millbrae less, or whatever? Why is our neighbor, so much cheaper in some cases? So.
Kirsten, one last thing. You talked about we're not able to use biodegradable bags. Do other cities use them? If so, why can't we?
The other cities use a different processor, one that is much more expensive and a lot farther. So it would increase the costs substantially to use a program with bags.
Okay.
And just if I can comment that our two schools, John Muir and Bel Air, are doing it without bags incredibly well. So I just have to give them their props because they've been working very hard in participating in this pilot.
Okay, great. Any other questions or action by the council?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Vice Mayor O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.